What happened at your work which caused multiple people to all quit at once? I had worked at a grocery store for about 3 years before moving from courtesy clerk, basically bagger plus custodian, to helper clerk, stoker. The grocery department wanted to save costs on personnel, but couldn't fire anyone or lay anyone off due to the union. So they started cutting back hours and literally told us when someone quits, everyone else will get more hours. We were supposed to be 40-hour employees and they had us at 32 hours. 2 people quit and we were down to 24 hours. A third person quit, down to 16 hours. I don't know what their plan was, but they didn't give us more hours as people left. Cancelled all raises and bonuses for everyone except the CEO, his wife, financial and HR, and his son. Utterly useless IT. In a year where we have record profits and brought in almost double the clients on top of announcing they aren't looking to hire more people when we were already overwhelmed. Good part about it was when the majority of us quit, they lost almost every single client shortly afterwards to their competitors and the company is now defunct. 2 shop owner, who lived in another state, hired some asshole to come revamp the shop. I had been managing for 3 years at this point and he just expected me to teach him how to do my job so he could replace me. That guy had no clue how to run a shop. Plus the owner had been embezzling money for her coke habit and had blamed the longest standing artist at the shop for lost revenue. Accused him of stealing. I did the books. No one was stealing. She was nuts. Anyway, all the artists and I mutinied and left at the same time. F them over good. With that idiot at the helm, the shop didn't last a year after we all left. I used to work at a grocery store. We had a manager who was hired to run the store but not be the franchisee, and when his numbers were satisfactory enough, they would let him franchise it. So fast forward a year later and this guy was doing everything he could, making the store run and look wonderful and all the staff liked one another. Out of nowhere he is told they are putting in a franchisee bid and tell him that if he wants it, he can have it. He bids, but so does one of the district manager's sons. He gets it. Original manager is of course pissed but accepts to stay as the grocery manager if he keeps pay rate. Fast forward and the new franchisee gets fired for not following regulations. They do the franchisee bid a second time and tell original manager the same thing. He can have it if he wants it. They give the store to another person a second time. I felt bad for the guy because all of his hard work and how well he treated me. Store starts going downhill, causing a lot of change and a lot of pissed off people. I was the first one to walk out as all of ours were cut. The new franchisee never spoke to anyone but would be if we didn't do things her way. I find out 14 more people quit within a month. Oh effing boy. I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings for a few years as a line cook. 2 different stores. Same effing pay. It was the type of work where you ask for a raise and they scoff and say yeah, me too. Anyways, I had been pretty dead set on quitting sooner or later. Our kitchen was very small. Most people ended up closing 4-5 days a week with doubles on the weekends, while still attending school full time as it was a college town. On Super Bowl effing Sunday, a useless coworker who ducked out in the bathroom most the shift finally stops showing, and in response the managerial staff delegated closing to my pal Jay. Dude was a effing delight to be around. Hands down the best coworker ever. Jay had told them that due to being a full-time student, he no longer wanted to be first in last out. 4 p.m. to 12 a.m., 1 a.m. on the weekends. They basically told him to go F himself, and that they don't have any more shifts for him. Immediately, me and one other cook walked to the office and quit on the spot. Buffalo Wild Wings lost 4 cooks on Super Bowl Sunday, leaving them with 7 full-time students on the schedule. It was a managerial show. I was hired by the new owners to replace the existing manager. I was under the impression that he was moving on to another job somewhere. So after about 4 days I asked him where he's headed and if he's excited. He just looks blankly at me and says, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just training you as the assistant manager. Right. The look I gave him must have been a great tip off because he got up and walked into one of the new owner's offices. After about 30 seconds they were screaming at each other. Then he just storms out of the office, grabs his stuff, give me the finger, and leaves. Over the next few days I'm trying to calm things with the employees. They are not faulting me, but now have a very bad taste in their mouths about the new ownership. Over about a 7-10 day time period my team shrank from 15 people down to 3. I hobbled along with that the best I could while we tried to hire new people, but the new owners were offering so little we had trouble finding people. After 3 months or so of that I started to get fed up and overwhelmed, and when the owners started to get on me about missed deadlines I had it. We were still only at 5 people, 2 of which were brand new and still training. They didn't allow me to refuse work or push deadlines out. They expected the same output as a 15-person team. So after my 3rd day in a row of being berated for missing a deadline that was impossible to make, I quit. Worked at a Wendy's and one of the regional managers started running a store because they wouldn't find new managers to replace the old ones. Well anyways, this guy practically ran the place into the ground. Before he started running the store most everyone liked working there as it was a good environment. A few months after, a couple of people quit because of him. And one day I roll in at 9 to help open the store and he comes out to my car as soon as I park. I was 15 minutes early and usually just sat in my car until 9. And tells me, hey, I need to start early because the 3 openers just quit on me. We managed to get the store open and had a number of people from other stores help run the place until the people from the next shift came in. A couple days later I hear the full story of what happened from a coworker. The regional manager is supposed to be at the store at 7 or so, and the openers 30 minutes later. He didn't actually show up until 8:30. So when the openers, already pissed at being at work really early and not being on the clock, saw the regional manager roll in and knew it was gonna be an awful shift, all decided that they were done with him and just quit right there. So at least 6 people quit because of him by the time I left the place. Probably more left after me. I did landscape construction. The cheap ass owner kept taking bigger and bigger projects while never hiring more help. We were all overwhelmed, stressed, and anxious as hell. One of our foremen quit and I followed suit a few days later. 2 more guys quit the next day. He was down to 3 guys for the obscene amount of work he wanted to do. Of course everything gets way behind schedule, but he's convinced it's not his fault at all. He went out of business less than a year later. I once worked at a company that ramped up from 4 to 8 people in a small shop. Things were busy but the owner kept making rookie mistakes like not buy material in bulk because he didn't like seeing a big bill all at once. Fast forward a year and paychecks start to bounce. Then he fired the 3 guys that suck around so they could collect unemployment, while he paid the difference under the table. Super shady. He ended up selling out to a competitor. Not sure what he is up to now. I was working for a very large IT company. Before the tech bubble burst we had a meeting with our new director and the VP. They were tired of people complaining about things that should be changed at the job and how they managed people. So they sat around 200 of us down in our auditorium, and the director said she didn't want to hear any more complaints on how she was running things, and if we didn't like then there was the door and that there was no way we'd leave such a great job. Well, there was a mass exodus and probably close to 50 people left within 2 months. She and the VP were reorged and given 0 reports. They were gone after a round of layoffs happened shortly after. Restructure of the way we're paid. What I used to do involved about 40% client interaction, 20% team coworker interaction, and 40% paperwork and case coordination stuff. Based on what we do that means only 40% of the time is technically billable, and there are really sticky rules for what is and isn't billable. So, logically, we were being paid on a salary model. Q management saying we can only make money for the time we have that is actually billable. 1/4 of the department quit. 2 of us on the same day. Wasn't my office but one in my building. The old CEO retired. He was extremely well loved and very fair. His replacement was a lady not known for her social skills. She hired her sister as the new VP and passed over everyone who was in line for promotions. Literally everyone but the sister and the secretary quit the next week together to go work for a competitor. The former CEO had to come back to try and fix everything. He ended up having to help the new CEO hire basically a new company. I don't think it's going well. School district I sometimes sub in had a big round of hiring. A bunch of building substitutes applied for the jobs, and only about half of them got interviews. Of the subs that got interviews, myself included, the only one who made it past the screening interview was a relative of a current employee. The rest of us subs weren't the right fit. The real reason is that there's a substitute shortage and they don't want to lose any of us. Not a single sub, who isn't a relative, was hired for one of over a dozen teaching jobs. Many of the building subs aren't coming back next year. Working at a local restaurant that had recently changed owners. Multiple issues came up. Difficulty getting off for important things. Hiring people to work in kitchen who were bad at their job but cheaper ingredients, etc. As well as owner just kinda sat around and drank while they're not doing much. Things were tense and after a few months we were really just hanging in there cause we liked each other. Previous owners were a sweet old couple that set a great vibe. I know some others and I were already looking for a job. Anyways, there was a young mother who waited tables there and really needed the job. Couldn't afford to be between jobs. One night she got a call that her grandmother had a severe stroke, was unresponsive, and was not expected to make it through the night. She asked to get off and start her 3-hour drive to Dallas. Manager says of course, but the owner says no. OS equals 1. Manager and owner got into a verbal fight in the back. The waitress ended up pleading her case, crying. Manager said that if the owner wouldn't let her go, he was done. Owner ended up firing them both on the spot. Within the next 15 minutes everyone who hadn't been recent hire ended up walking out of the building. Edit. To answer questions. 7 of us walked out. 1 waitress, 1 cook, dishwasher and the busboy stayed. I actually never followed up to see if they finished shift, but I think they did. I and 1 other were the last of the originals there. We banged out the last couple tickets we had that were placed before the walkout. Not their fault and I do take some pride in my work. The quality and attendance dropped for a year before the owner sold to a different guy with actual restaurant experience. Original couple returned to reopen the restaurant. It is still going today. I'm not going to name names. No point. Just let sleeping dogs lay. The waitress did make it in time to say goodbye before her grandmother passed. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like and subscribe. Please check out more of our videos or our playlist. It is perfect for when you want background noise or to put on when you are falling asleep. Once again, thank you and have a great day.